Politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners.
I am the Rambling Madman.
I have this feeling, man, because you know there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. It's not a I'm not a conspiracy nut.
Motherfuckers are so sensitive, the whole country is turned into bitch-ass niggas.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
Yes, I've heard. He kills men by the hundred. And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse. I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do with that freedom? Will you fight? Fight against that? No! We will run! And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ramblings of a Madman. This is your host, Mark Ciccarello Jr., a.k.a. the Rambling Madman, and today we're coming at you with episode 23. It's the 4th of July episode. I'm recording this on the 4th of July. It's coming out to you tomorrow on the 5th of July. And so we're gonna ramble on a little bit about freedom here, which is why I chose the William Wallace Braveheart freedom speech to begin this episode to get us started. And I know it was 2 minutes. And it was pretty long, but you know, this is my show, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I did it, and I went and put the freedom speech on there because it's a pretty impactful and powerful moment in the film. And 4th of July is all about freedom as we know it, right? Because we're free. We're the only free country here in the United States. There's no freedom exists nowhere else aside from here. Anyway, like I say every week, make sure if you're enjoying these episodes, you're liking, you're sharing, you're commenting, you're replying to me on social media. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any details you want to leave about the show, anything you want to say, criticism, constructive criticism, if you want to rip me a new asshole because you don't like something I said, go ahead and shoot me an email at ramblingpodcast2021@gmail.com. Again, that's ramblingpodcast2021@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your suggestions for topics or things I could do differently, things that I could do to improve the show. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you just want to talk about something that I may have spoken about on the show and you just want to talk more about it, go in depth, see why I think the way I do, I'm always free. I'll always I have Discord or various other social medias. I'm always down for a call and to actually talk with you guys, and always down for a conversation about conspiracies, spirituality, any other thing in the world. I love sports, anything. I'm actually pondering the idea of making a sports podcast, a separate podcast in addition to this one. Still working out the details to that. I want to have a co-host for that, but I want the co-host to know his shit about sports, not just Philadelphia sports or Philadelphia football. I want the co-host to know his shit about all sports, because I watch all sports, and I want to make the podcast about all sports. But anyway, like I said, if you're seeing these, if you're listening to this episode and you're enjoying it, and just please be sure to share it, like, comment, spread the word of the Rambling Madman, and together we'll spread the movement of the freedom of ideas, the freedom of conversation, and the freedom to think however the fuck you want to think, which is kind of important today on this July 4th, 2021. We celebrate, what was it, 1776, so 2026 will be 250 years, right? And so we're 5 years away from that, so we're 245 years of quote-unquote freedom, right? Yeah, no, we're not. So basically, I feel like there's a lot of people out there today who are going to be celebrating the 4th of July, and I don't have a problem with people, going to cookouts and having fun, hanging out with their friends. It's like Christmas. Does anybody really celebrate Christmas because of the birth of Christ? No. We celebrate Christmas because it's time off from work we get to spend with our families and our friends, and we get to, just enjoy the time together. We don't celebrate Christmas because of the religious aspect of it anymore. At least most people don't anyway. And so that's how I feel about 4th of July. I feel like we shouldn't be celebrating this because of freedom or because of patriotism or whatever most people celebrate it for. We should be celebrating this just because it's time to spend with our friends and family and time to have a cookout and have conversations, because conversations are kind of dead and gone. You can't really talk to people about anything anymore. And that's how I feel like we should look at the 4th of July. I know there's a lot of woke people, quote woke people, self-proclaimed woke people, who are going to be celebrating the 4th of July because of America and freedom and guns and fuck yeah, America. And that's kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I feel like if you are a self-proclaimed woke person and you are a conspiracy theorist, spirituality enthusiast, whatever, you should be able to see the flaws behind July 4th. We were so quick to cancel Columbus Day, but July 4th still remains a celebrated holiday, and that really doesn't make sense to me, because Columbus was one dude who I don't understand. I don't really think it's very fair to say that Columbus committed the atrocities. Why do we blame Columbus for the atrocities of the nation, of the many people who did it? It's not Columbus himself. Columbus just sailed the ship, right? And then the other people did the work. It's like the people who sailed the Nina, the Minta, the Pinta, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, the people who sailed those ships. Do we blame them people for killing the Indians? I don't. I mean, you just sailed the ships. I mean, I know everybody played their part, but like, we take all this out in Columbus, like it's him who actually sent the orders to come here and kill the Indians, and like, or wherever the fuck he actually landed, kill the natives wherever he landed. He was, last I checked, he was under orders from Spain, and yeah. So we're not going to talk about Columbus, but I feel like Columbus Day got canceled before July 4th, which doesn't really make sense. I think July 4th should definitely be canceled. And listen, I guess there's arguments out there as to the character of Columbus himself, and there's always people who say, well, he did this and this personally and that personally. And anyway, I'm just saying, I feel like Columbus Day shouldn't have been canceled. I feel like July 4th, this country's history of slavery, unfairness to minorities and other people, and just the physical, like, July 4th, 1776, the reason the revolution started was because of what? No taxation without representation. Yeah, we get taxed like fuck. And do we have any representation? Do you honestly think that your vote matters? I mean, if we had representation, true, honest representation, do you think we would have a president with dementia right now? Or do you think we would have had, if we honestly chose our presidents, would we have put the two candidates, the two choices that we have, as Donald Trump and Joe Biden? I don't think so. I think we, as a body of people, could come up with two candidates that are way better than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. A guy with dementia and an asshole billionaire Zionist Israeli shill. Like, we could have done better than that if it was really up to us. There is no representation. And it cracks me up when people say, well, you're just bullying Biden because he has a stuttering problem. No, that motherfucker doesn't have a stuttering problem. Or maybe he does have a stuttering problem, but that motherfucker has dementia now. That is not a stutter. Hold on, let me play some clips of Joe Biden speaking for you. Give me 1 second here.
More than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
You know, the rapidly rising with I don't know, I just spoke at Dartmouth on healthcare at the medical school, or not. I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but the people from the medical school were at the. I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was a medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus.
I propose, and I'm going to digress slightly. We're in a situation. The president asked me to head up a cancer moonshot. Another country and annex a significant portion of it called Crimea. Right. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault. Guatemala, El Salvador, and to go in and say in Honduras and say, look, I took on Putin in terms of in terms of what was going on in Ukraine. By strengthening, by investing $100 billion in education, in global warming efforts. It's a whole range of things. We can't afford it by just beginning to treat reward work as much as wealth.
It get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again.
If you want.
The kids like to rub his leg hair down so it was straight and then watch it come back up again. That's your president speaking. Your president likes to have kids rub his leg hair. Anyway, you can see how obviously he has dementia. Like, if that's not a stutter, that's dementia, or you're retarded. One or the other. What are you? Are you retarded or do you have dementia? Either way, you should not be a president if you are retarded or you have dementia. Just saying. I think if we, the people, chose our candidates, we would have a better candidate than that to choose from in the first place. Let me give you some clips of the other guy that we had to choose from, or quote unquote choose from, Donald Trump. Let me give you some clips of him speaking, and just so we can. He's obviously coherent enough to form sentences and stuff like that. But let's just listen to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Who's number one with Hispanics?
Well,
Trump.
Yes, you told us
Trump.
that earlier.
I love the Mexican people and their spirit, but the country of Mexico is killing us. I want to build a wall. I'm going to build a wall.
I want to build the wall. We need the wall.
And Mexico will pay for the wall.
But we have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get them out.
And it's really weak to call John McCain a loser because he was a...
I never called him. No, I don't call him.
That is outrageous. He's an American hero.
I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. And then I watched this idiot Lindsey Graham on television today, and he calls me a jackass. He's a jackass. The man of the toupee. This is on the front page of the New York Times. I don't wear a toupee.
I honestly don't know which statement by Trump in that clip was funnier. The fact that he said he doesn't wear a toupee, or the fact that he said Mexico is going to pay for the wall. That's got to be up there with like the funniest things he's ever said, and the most like outrageous. Like, obviously you wear a toupee, and obviously Mexico isn't going to pay for a wall, for our border wall. Like, yeah. So Trump might actually be retarded. Biden has dementia, and Trump might actually be retarded if he thought Mexico was going to pay for the wall. Because you have to be one sped motherfucker to believe that Mexico was going to pay for that wall. And maybe he just identifies as somebody with hair. Maybe that's his Maybe that's his thing. You know, some people identify as like animals or other genders or whatever. Trump identifies as a man with perfect hair. He doesn't have a toupee. He has has perfect hair. Like, you can't tell, and whatever people believe, that's true. You can't tell them that they're wrong. He has 110% perfect hair. Every man is dying to have Donald Trump hair. Anyway, enough about that disgusting, sorry excuse of a man in Donald Trump. So another thing I wanted to talk about today was the fact that 41 of the 56 people who signed the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, 41 of the 56 people who signed it were slave owners. So yeah, that's another reason why I wouldn't necessarily celebrate the 4th of July. 41 out of 56, so that's, let me do the math here. Give me 1 sec. That's just about 73% of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence owned slaves. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Almost 3/4 of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence owned slaves, and I don't think that's right. I think maybe, you know, we should have a new Declaration of Independence, a Declaration of Independence from the tyrannous government of the United States. It's no longer a foreign influence that's being tyrannous against us and oppressing us. It's our own government. It's our own officials that are supposedly elected by us that are suppressing us and our voices and basically, you know, taking all of our tax dollars and sending them to the Middle East and shit like that, buying bombs and stuff. And, you know, I think I could use all the money that they take out of my check every week, my paycheck. I think I could use that a lot more than they could use it. So, like, I think, like, you know, whatever it may be, like a few $100 to take out of your paycheck every week. Well, yeah, I think that is better off in my pocket than the government's pocket. Like, I really need that money, that $200. The $200 is not going to help the government as much as it's going to help me. I mean, what's $200 to like $1 billion missile that they're trying to buy? I mean, just give me my fucking tax dollars and just go steal the money from foreign governments or whatever, like you do, like you already do. Like, stop being so fucking greedy. Leave my tax dollars alone. Give them to me, and just, you know, if you want to be like evil, just fucking go and steal the money that you're gonna steal, and just leave my money alone. Why do you have to steal money from foreign countries and governments and shit? Take over their central banks. But you also have to take my money out of my paycheck that I work for? Like, leave me the fuck alone. Jeez. Like, fuck. So, yes. I think we should have a new Declaration of Independence. A new revolution. Or would it be... No, it wouldn't be a revolution because this is our own government that's oppressing us now. It's not a foreign influence. It's our own government. It would be a civil war, right? Or would it be both? Would it be both a civil war and a revolution? Very intriguing thoughts there, right? But nonetheless, I think something should happen. Like, I don't want to pay the government like a quarter of my check every week. Like, I don't want that. Like, that's illegal. That, from what I've heard and what I've read, income tax is illegal. Federal income tax, anyway. The federal government taking your money is illegal. And if we all somehow found a way to stop paying income tax, I'm pretty sure there'd be nothing they could do to force us to do it. So yeah, so just think about that. And if anybody has, you know, maybe a manifesto or a draft of a new Declaration of Independence that they want to, you know, send my way, let me see it. I'll sign it. Maybe I'll sign it. Send it to ramblingpodcast2021@gmail.com. And together we can get the ball rolling on a brand new revolution, 1776 Part 2, 2021. Be the badasses of all badasses. And together we'll kick some fucking ass, right? Fuck. And my next point here is that, you know, like I said, 41 of the 56 people who signed the Declaration of Independence were slave owners. But also, you know, the man who wrote the majority of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, well, he had taken a special liking to his slaves. And, you know, it's well known that, you know, many African Americans today can trace their lineage back to Thomas Jefferson because, well, he would rape his slaves. Yes. So, actually, this clip that I'm about to play for you it's kind of a funny, humorous skit. It's by Key and Peele. You may have heard it or seen it before. Basically, they did a skit, a mock commercial for Ancestry.com where you find your DNA and your history and your family lineage and all that. They did a mock commercial skit for that, and basically all the white people had all these cool ancestors when they took their DNA test, and then all the black people all had like the same. It all traced them back to the same guy. And here, I'm going to play that for you here.
What can I say about Ancestry.com? My adventure began when I received a leaf pointing me in the direction of my great-grandfather, who was a pilot with the Flying Aces in World War I.
On my mother's side, I found an aunt who traced her lineage all the way back to Thomas Jefferson.
I was able to trace my bloodline back to nobles and even a king.
I discovered I'm a direct descendant of Eric the Red.
After only a couple of hours on Ancestry.com, I was able to trace my family line all the way back to none other than our third president, Thomas Jefferson.
Marie Antoinette.
Thomas Jefferson.
Aristotle.
Thomas Jefferson.
Alexander the Great.
Thomas Jefferson. Join Ancestry.com and begin a one-of-a-kind journey into your unique past, because you never know where your story begins.
Thomas Jefferson.
So, yes, Thomas motherfucking Jefferson. It's fucking wild that the third president of the United States, the third president of this, this great and free nation that people should look upon with, jealousy. Other nations should want to be us. The third president of this nation and the man who wrote the Declaration of Independence, the thing that is said to have given us our freedom, was a pretty disgusting man. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just ramble off a little some facts here about Thomas Jefferson and the type of man that he was, our third president and the man who wrote the document that gave us our freedom. This is who he was. I got some facts pulled up here. I'm just going to read them to you. So he had an affair with a slave named Sally Hemings. An affair, meaning he raped his slave. You don't have an affair with the slave. You own the slave. You rape the slave. But not only was Sally Hemings a slave, Sally Hemings was also a teenager. She was only 14 years old, and she was initially a maid at Jefferson's place in Paris. He had like a house or a mansion in Paris, and she was a house slave there. And she came back to came to the United States with Jefferson as a slave, and the agreement was that he would free her children in exchange for going to the United States with him, and he ended up having 6 kids with this 14-year-old girl. And there's also speculation that Sally Hemings might have been his half-sister, or the half-sister of his wife. And I don't know exactly how that works, but apparently there's speculation that he might have actually owned his wife's half-sister, who was half-black, as his slave. And that's in addition to owning his wife's half-sister, who was his slave, he was raping her when she was 14 years old and had 6 kids by her. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's our third president of the United States, the man who wrote the Declaration of Independence. And then here we have Sally Hemings, and not only was he like as despicable as he was, it didn't stop there. He also made sure that Sally Hemings would never become a free woman. Even as he was on his deathbed, he made sure that they knew not to free Sally Hemings. I'm not exactly sure how he went about that or why he went about that, but he did. And that's Thomas Jefferson, man. He seems like such a cool guy. I'm so glad to be celebrating the 4th of July today and celebrating the document that he wrote. Jefferson was one of the biggest members of the slave trading community, giving slaves and separating. He had a fondness for separating slaves from their families and tearing families apart, mother from children, husband from wife. At one point this is the largest number of slaves ever to have been owned by any one person at one point in history. He had 200 slaves at once, and over his lifetime he had 600 slaves. That's kind of fucking wild. Back when he was writing the Declaration of Independence, he tried to introduce, legislation that would prevent freed slaves from being able to leave their states or the very near vicinities of where they were. There was even supposedly an anti-slavery clause in the original Declaration of Independence, and where they said that King George III of England was, quote, determined to keep an open market where men should be bought and sold. He has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or restrain this execrable commerce. And so that was an anti-slavery statement that was originally in the Declaration of Independence that I think Thomas Jefferson or the group had decided as a whole to take out at the last minute, because I guess they saw that it was a, quote, necessary evil, right? And so yeah, it's pretty shitty how they just decided to ignore slavery as a whole in the Declaration of Independence. And Thomas Jefferson was raping a 14-year-old slave, had 6 kids by her, owned the most slaves of anyone at any one point in history, 200 slaves, 600 slaves total throughout his lifetime, was known for I'm not Joe Biden, sorry, I promise I can speak. He was notoriously known for separating slaves, families, husband and wife, brother and sister, sons and daughters, and from their parents. He was a very, very vile human being, and I don't like that we celebrate him and his work and everything that he's done on this day. And it really kind of bugs me, and I feel like, especially the people in this community here, the people that listen to these podcasts and make these podcasts, there's no reason why we should be celebrating it, especially when you're intelligent enough to be listening to my show, when intelligent enough to be making shows like my show. We're smarter than that. I'm not saying you can't enjoy yourself on the 4th of July. It's a nice day to get together and have the family around for a cookout, whatever, just like Christmas. You get together, you don't really celebrate fucking baby Jesus, do you? Unless you're like a hardcore Christian. But if we're going to be patriotic and shit and be like, fuck yeah, America, pull out the red, white, and blue flags, the t-shirts, the fucking, let's go beat up a fucking Muslim dude, yeah, I got a problem. I really do have a problem. Fuck you and your red, white, and blue bullshit, right? And speaking of red, white, and blue, here's a clip from one of my most favorite famous comedians of all time, George Carlin, who was more than just a comedian. He spoke the truth on a lot of matters and spoke a lot of truths that people didn't want to hear. And here is a red, white, and blue clip from George Carlin.
You know what the national emblem of this country ought to be? Forget that bald eagle. The national emblem of this country ought to be Uncle Sam standing naked at attention saluting, and seated on a chair next to him, the Statue of Liberty jerking him off. That would be a good symbol for the United Strokes of America.
The United Strokes of America. I love that he says that, because if you're not speaking out against this shit, if you're not taking a stand, and you're just comfortable living your comfortable little American lives, you're having your red, white, and blue cookouts every year on the 4th of July, and you're just happy living the American dream. By the way, there's another clip from Carlin I'm going to play about the American dream right after I'm done speaking here. But if you're happy just living you're blindly living your life, you are the United Strokes of America. You're just sitting there. You are the Statue of Liberty that he's talking about. Just sitting there, sitting comfortably, jerking off Uncle Sam's big red, white, and blue dick every fucking day of your life. Now here is another clip from my main man George, and this one's a bit more in depth, I'd say.
There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
And that's right. The majority of Americans will remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being shoved up their assholes every day. It's exactly word for word what he just said, and it's true. It's very true. It's exactly why I don't like celebrating the 4th of July. It's like I don't get along with so many Republicans, because I mean, a lot of people have the problems with liberals, and I get it. Some of them can be very fucking annoying, but Republicans are just so fucking like they're like oblivious. At least liberals are hip to that there's a fucking problem, and they might be confused about what the problem actually is or how to solve the problems and stuff like that. But Republicans and conservatives, they just think like this is the best place ever, and like this is like fuck yeah, like everybody should want to live here, and like nothing bad has ever happened here, and that it's okay that they're taking our tax dollars and sending them to Israel. It's okay that you as life goes on, you just keep working and working and working and working, and you just give everything you have, only for them to take more and more and more and more from you. And that doesn't sit right with me. Like, why, as somebody who's supposedly socially conscious about the world around them, would you ever support a way of life like that? And why would you ever support the way of life that we have here in this country? And I get it. There's not many people here are being like subjected to like things like in the Middle East, like if you're gay, they fucking stone you with rocks. But I get it. But it doesn't mean it's perfect here. It doesn't mean that it's fucking right the way we live. Just because we're not fucking stoning gay people with rocks doesn't mean that we're not we don't portray ourselves to be civilized, more civilized than we actually are. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe the civilization portrayal is the problem itself. Maybe that's where we went wrong, is that we want to seem like we're civilized, so we do all these things that civilized people do. We pay taxes and we go to work and work 40, 50, 60 hours a week sometimes, and all for nothing, for just to barely get by. Meanwhile, like Carlin said in the clip, what do they do? Your pension is vanishing. Your fucking Social Security is vanishing. Your overtime pay is vanishing. You keep working and working and working and fucking working until you can't work and you fucking die, and For what? And it ends up they took everything from you. They took it all. They gave it to their criminal friends on Wall Street, he said. And it's true. They gave it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. They gave it to the fucking Israel so they can bomb the fuck out of Palestine and kill Palestinian babies. They give it to our military so we can bomb the fuck out of the Middle East and kill Middle Eastern babies. And are you comfortable knowing that your tax dollars, the money that gets taken out of your check every fucking week, goes to paying for billion-dollar missiles? How many potholes do you run over a year that never get fixed, right? Or how many bridges in this country do we have that are like condemnable? Like, that's a big thing. The problem, the bridges in this country, like, to get across water, most of them in this country are like piss poor, condemnable, in horrible shape. Nobody should ever be driving across them. Yet we keep paying these tax dollars and nothing infrastructural is ever being fixed. Nothing to actually better our lives is ever happening with these tax dollars. I get it, we have like the social welfare programs that do indeed help some people, but for the most part they just hold people back. And that's not even where the majority of our tax dollars go. If that's where the majority of our tax dollars went, was, feeding people who need to be fed, housing people who need to be housed, money for, even though I don't support war, helping our veterans who are either misled into going to war, or who were drafted, and like, there's no reason why veterans should have like the worst medical care out there. Like, why is the VA like the worst thing in the world? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And Donald Trump was president, he was supposed to fix that. But yet veterans still can't like smoke weed, or else they'll get their VA will stop covering their medications and their treatments, and for shell shock and whatever the fuck. Like, if our tax dollars actually went to that shit, like, I would have no problem paying tax dollars. But it doesn't. What else could we do with tax dollars? Well, I'm not the biggest environmental guy here, and I don't necessarily agree with all the global warming stuff, but that being said, there is a lot of trash in this fucking world, and what if we just put tax dollars into that instead of killing Palestinian babies, or giving foreign aid to all these foreign countries? What if we helped ourselves? What if we cleaned up our streets, or what if we what about this one? This is a good one. What if we put tax dollars into investigating what the fuck happened with Jeffrey Epstein, why he was selling politicians children so they could have sex with them, why fucking Bill Clinton was on his island numerous times as former president. His wife, Bill Clinton's wife, was just about to be almost could have been president in 2016, and her husband was flying on the Lolita Express to Epstein's island multiple times. Good friends with Epstein, and that's who was going to be president of the United States, and he was president of the United States. Like, maybe we should invest our tax dollars into that. And the other presidential candidate of 2016 who became president in 2016, Donald Trump, was great friends with Epstein. Why don't we just put more tax dollars into that instead of forgetting about it? Epstein got killed. Do you guys remember that? I sure do. I think about it like every day. Well, with all that being said, yes, there are many things that we could do with our tax dollars that would be more beneficial to society, the world, our people, just our states, our infrastructure, our roads. We could do so much shit with those. And a lot of the shit that I mentioned is stuff that's actually supposed to be done with tax dollars, but some seemingly doesn't. But we could do so much shit, and yet we continue to pump that money into foreign countries and into places like Israel so they can spread terror. And it boggles my mind. And this is what we do every year on the 4th of fucking July. We go out and we put up our flags and we celebrate this. We celebrate the fact that, racists and slave owners wrote the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution too, but the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson, the main writer of the Declaration of Independence, raped his 14-year-old slave, had 6 kids with her. This is what we're celebrating. He loved to split families up in slavery. But why would we go out every year and celebrate that? Now go out there and like I said, I hope everybody's enjoying their long weekend, because most people have a long weekend. I don't. I have to work tomorrow. Most people have off on the 5th, but I don't. And like I said, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the time with your family, but just keep in mind, don't celebrate it for the reasons that those fucking conservative dickheads are celebrating it for. You know, the fucking frat boy polo wearing, short chino wearing, fucking boat shoes with long socks ass motherfuckers. Don't celebrate it for the reasons that they're celebrating. I don't want to hear anything, proud to be an American. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear Hulk Hogan's theme song. I don't want to hear any of it. I don't want to hear Amber Waves of Green. I don't want to hear, I'm not standing for the flag this summer. I'm not doing any of it. And I guess I'll leave you with that. And I know my last few episodes have been kind of short, and I'm just seeing how it benefits me, like how I feel about making these episodes. I mean, 40 to 50 minutes to an hour. That's about the average podcast episode time, I would say. I do like doing the longer episodes. It's just that they take a bit more. And I know I haven't had a guest in a while, and I'm going to be working on getting some more guests on in a bit here. I want to get the speaker back on because he says he has some great things to tell me, but he's kind of busy out in Florida at the moment. But yeah, I'm gonna get some more guests for you guys eventually, and I'll have some longer, in-depth episodes. I'm still working on that conspiracy theory rabbit hole with, the Council on Foreign Relations and Richard Harwood and Bobby Kennedy. And I want to talk to you guys more about that, but I also want to get more information and see if I can get connect the dots a little bit more for you guys. And but like I said, I digress. I hope you guys are having a great 4th of July weekend, and I hope you guys spend some time with your family if you have an extra day off or whatever. And if you're enjoying this episode, please like and share. Send it out to anybody who you think may enjoy listening to it. And also I have a Discord server for the podcast. The link for the Discord server is in the episode description wherever you're listening to this. Also, it's on my link tree. So, and with that, I leave you guys. I will, as I say every week, keep on keeping on. Remember that we're all gods out here, and have a wonderful day.